The UN Security Council meeting at Russia's request to falsely accuse Ukraine and the U.S. of producing chemical and biological weapons in Ukraine to use against Russia, what the White House is dismissing as a false flag to mask what they believe Putin might be planning.
Does Ukraine have chemical or biological weapons?
Ukraine has biological research facilities.
Wait, what?
Does this study involve developing pathogens as well?
No.
Well, that's a relief.
As it has been said out here, that if these specific pathogens get away, then they can be very dangerous, which means inside those biolabs in Ukraine, there are some dangerous pathogens.
It's not what she said.
And all of this is happening under the DTRA, the Defense Threat Reduction Agency.
Oh, I think I heard of them.
This Russian state media footage from 2015 claims to show America running facilities in Ukraine and Georgia that caused deadly outbreaks of disease and killed local livestock. This story is false, but that has not stopped it continuing to circulate.
Ms. Partma, what are the biolabs? There are 16 of them. What do they study?
They study influenzas and other pathogens that have the risk of affecting humans and animals and livestock and agriculture.
Here's a question for you, Dr. Ashton. Is bird flu still a danger?
Not only is it a danger, it is evolving and it is getting the attention of the world. There is an H5N1 avian influenza outbreak right now spreading through Asia, Europe, North America. There have been hundreds of thousands of birds infected right now, poultry. The USDA is on top of this. We talked about it 2 weeks ago. Right now, the risk to humans is considered low. However, this strain of influenza has infected human beings before. It has a very high fatality rate. This is a perfect example of why we cannot turn a blind eye to what is happening with animals right now. We've learned that lesson in the last 2+ years with coronavirus.
You said rich nations should move to 100% synthetic beef.
Yeah, unless we can make the cow zero emission, which, I'm not sure we can. We do need to to get rid of those emissions. And, it's not going to happen overnight. The scale up and the innovation still required there is quite large. But yes.
Because cows account for around 4% of all greenhouse gases, Gates has invested in 2 companies making plant-based meat substitutes, Impossible Foods and Beyond Meat.
How do you address that? I can imagine people at home are saying, I'm not doing that. What he's talking about is crazy. I'm not doing that. I farm cattle. We're not going to stop doing that. I'm not going to change my way of life because of something that he's talking about is going to happen in 30 years.
But farming the vegetables used to make many meat alternatives emits gases as well.
Every once in a while, something breaks through to the masses. Because of the internet, millions of people slowly get red-pilled as to how rigged the system is. To me, one of the most interesting backlashes that we saw in modern memory was the backlash against BlackRock and other Wall Street firms which seek to buy as much single-family housing as possible to turn America into a nation of renters. In short, they want to take the last thing in your life that you own and sell it to you on a temporary basis.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. So I am happy. I apologize to those who may have jumped on that first stream that went up, but it wasn't connecting with Rumble, and today is the first day that we are broadcasting to Rumble as well, live. So if you have not checked us out on Rumble, by all means, head over there and subscribe. We have not spent a lot of time in the past working on our Rumble channel. We kind of used it as a backup system for our other content, but I have recently, because of distribution issues with some of the more popular networks, am now turning to Rumble, as I probably should have initially. And even without really trying, we gained about 355 subscribers there. And I am now actively going to be pursuing that. So definitely, if you're anti-YouTube, and I know that we've lost quite a bit of viewership because we were not live on Rumble. So I just want to say welcome to everybody on Rumble. We're glad to be here. So I hope you got something out of that initial video. And if you missed it, you can check it out after the fact. But yeah, so I mean, here we are. Here we are in this situation. What I want to cover today and what I want to have the discussion on today is really a few things, and one kind of leads to the other. So there's the biolabs in Ukraine, right? You remember the ones that they swore didn't exist and then acknowledged exist, and then acknowledged that they first said there was nothing dangerous there, it was just for health research, and then they admitted that they were very concerned about the Russians getting hold of these biolabs because of the research material they contain, and then that rose questions, and then we learned that the pathogens that were there, first they said there were no pathogens, then they said there were pathogens, and you know, and we kind of went down this road with it, and you know, like what you see up on the screen here are the locations of it. I think it's at least 11 of them. I believe there are 16 in total of what these research labs were, and why I'm bringing that up when I have a cover that's talking about food shortages and bird flu and synthetic meat is because these labs, you know, acknowledged by our government, okay, contain pathogens that are very disruptive to livestock and things of that nature. Now, they claim that they're doing this to that they're you know, it's the gain of function stuff, right? It's the same thing they did with Corona. Oh, we're doing this gain of function, but we're only doing it to try and prevent this from happening in the first place. Now, you know, anyone worth their shirt, right? Even Obama, when he first heard that Fauci was doing this because there was a CDC lab leak, and Obama was like, you know, left, right, whatever, he's still a human being, and he heard that and was like, are you people freaking crazy? I just stopped all the research, stopped all the funding, right? Then they went dark for a little while and started shipping it off to China. That's how it ended up in the Wuhan lab. And then, you know, and no one said anything under Trump. They just kept running it and didn't say a word. And since there were no leaks, it never got brought to Trump's desk, so they were allowed to continue to operate. These mad scientists are like all over the place. This is like crazy now, all right? But, you know, just to give you a piece of how the media was attacking it, I took a clip from that intro video because I want to talk about that specifically. So here we go. And how you doing, Sheila? I see you out there. I see you out there. Let's my widget's not working. Okay. All right, so it looks like I'm not going to be able to highlight comments today, which is terrible, but likely because I'm not shocked. Even though I tested this a million times and it worked, this time it's not working. So, but let's get to this clip real quick before I continue.
This Russian state media footage from 2015 claims to show America running facilities in Ukraine and Georgia that caused deadly outbreaks of disease and killed local livestock. This story is false, but that has not stopped it continuing to circulate.
Ms. Partma, what are the biolabs? There are 16 of them. What do they study?
They study influenzas and other pathogens that have the risk of affecting humans and animals and livestock and agriculture.
Thank you, Sheila. I think it's better now. My apologies. All right, so let me take this back then. I'm wondering why I got viewers dropping off. So let me dial this back a notch. So the reason that I was bringing up the I don't know where I cut off exactly, but I realized what was wrong. So my apologies for that. But what I was getting at, the reason I'm tying these biolabs in is because what's happening now. I believe you were able to hear the clip. I think it's just my mic that cut out there. So, assuming you could hear that clip, what you heard was CNN debunking the fact that Ukraine had been dealing with. This was in 2015. Those people had been reaching out and trying to put out videos and trying to put out content to let people know that they were dealing with serious issues with their livestock and dealing with serious infections and having to euthanize them. And CNN went out and put that video out saying, it was all, despite the fact that this is false, it doesn't stop it from continuing to spread. Well, it continued to spread because it wasn't false. All right. And this is the thing. Now, this was back in 2015. These issues have been going on all the way through. All right, thank you, Sheila, letting me know you could hear that clip. I appreciate that, because I have no producer, guys. So if something goes off or something is not working, just let me know in the comments, like Sheila just did. I appreciate that over on YouTube. So anyway, these pathogens, all right. So they've acknowledged. First, they said they did nothing. There are no biolabs. Then they acknowledged that there are biolabs, but they said there are no pathogens there, just biolabs for health research. Then they acknowledged that there were pathogens in there because they were concerned that the Russians might get them, right? So let's follow this BS story all the way down the chain, right? And now, and then they say, oh, well, no, there are no livestock dying. Of course, we now know there were livestock dying. So, and now we have a global pandemic of epic proportion where tens of millions of birds are being euthanized because of what the USDA called a highly pathogenic avian influenza. So avian influenza is just another name for bird flu, right? And so this goes on, right? So like I put up earlier, just in Iowa alone, 5.3 million chickens killed, all right? And those numbers are escalating daily, all right? Because the infections are still going around. This is a major, we're not talking food shortages or poultry or protein shortages, 2 years down the road, possibly, potentially. We're talking about the assuredness of this happening within the next few months. And we already have the supply chain issues. So I guess the point that I'm trying to make here is that I may not be, I may not have a million of these inside sources and such, but the reality of the matter is if you had to figure out how they would try and take control of a food supply, this would be the way to do it. Now, why would I even go down that road? Because while I do look at conspiracies, I don't generally buy into them. But when you have some of the wealthiest human beings and largest corporations, BlackRock, Vanguard, Soros, Klaus Schwab, Joe Biden, the Prince of Wales, the Prince of Wales. When you have all of these people, Trudeau, all coming out and telling you that Corona is going to be, it's an opportunity for them for a great reset for the world, to help reset things to a new global order. When you hear all that, and you hear that they're using Corona as the catalyst for this, right? Because they've been planning it forever. They coined the term reset, I think, in 2020 with that meeting, but this New World Order piece has been around forever, all right? And the fact of the matter is, it sure as heck does look like this is another catastrophe created by our governments that they are now going to use emergency powers to save us from. Get ready. It's coming. They've been telling us about this food shortage for months on end now. I haven't talked about it for months on end because in the end, it wasn't, look, the people that were talking about it are believers, right? And I'm more of I need to see some tangible stuff going on that paints this picture. And right now, as I started to dig into it, yeah, there sure is a lot of tangible stuff to paint this picture. Now, North Carolina North Carolina suspended poultry shows and public sales over the avian flu. So now, if you live in North Carolina, you can't even start your own chicken farm. All right, that's what they're saying, basically. So how does this all end? This is likely going to end in, guess what, folks? A bird flu vaccine for the birds, right? Because it's not enough to, it's not enough to just get us with it, right? Now we got the chickens are going to get it. And the thing is, only farms that have the resources to vaccinate all of these birds are going to be allowed to produce chicken, which basically puts this in the hands of large corporations, etc. All right. Now, also in that intro video, I added in there that that we're also in a situation where what else has been going on in the last 5, 6, 7 years? We've got Bill Gates buying up, all right, tons and tons and tons of farmland. He is now the creator of Windows, all right, is now the nation's largest owner of farmland. He owns more farmland than any entity. All right, so what would be the motive for that, right? Like what would be? Don't tell me he's investing in assets, because that's nonsense. That's nonsense. If a guy with Bill Gates' money wants to invest in assets, he'd be pulling a Trump and buying up Manhattan right now, because that's where the money's going to skyrocket if Manhattan ever wakes up and has another Giuliani moment. All right, you don't buy farmland in that kind of quantity unless you have a specific purpose. So the question is, what's the purpose? Well, it's his investments in synthetic beef, all right, which is a part of the Great Resets. That's a part of their gig, right? Is that this is how they control the food supply. All right, so the whole thing is just creepier than anything out of an Orwell book. It's just like, this makes 1984 look passive. All right, what these freaks are doing, these freaking nutcases. All right, so when I sit here and look at it, and I say to myself, well, how do we stop this, right? How do we Well, there's one way, right? And I talk about it all the time in Article 5, right? But you know what? It doesn't even end. I shouldn't even move on to the solution yet, because we haven't even touched the rest of the problem, right? So we talk about why are we going to Ukraine, right? Half the country is recognizing that it really has nothing to do with the Ukrainian people, and really has nothing to do with any of this, right? What it has to do with is this whole freaking New World Order nonsense. And China and Russia and India, by the way, and I believe South Africa is on board with that too, have declared their own New World Order. Use the terminology and everything. All right? So it's clear that there's a battle here going on between the New World Order people, the original ones, and the New World Order people in Russia, China, and in India. And India's kind of been quiet, but China and Russia keep throwing their name in. Right? So India's kind of been quiet about the whole thing. That's why I've been watching a lot of Indian news lately. I've been trying to pick up clips from Indian news shows because, I know that as a nation they're being quiet, but I know that they're heavily involved with China and Russia right now. And then you've got all of our normal allies sitting silent. Israel, certain parts of Europe are remaining silent. All right, so this is like catastrophe now kind of stuff. This is the kind of stuff where, and you'll see it. Like, it's not like you can sit here and dial out and call me crazy, but in the end, like, you're going to see it it's already begun, but you're going to start to see it more and more. All right, the U.S. will probably not, it depends. It depends on how this whole thing combines. But, we'll probably see less of an effect than Europe will. But we're going to see, you're going to notice it. All right, you're going to notice it. All right, and what else is going to cause this problem? Fertilizer. So, it just so happens, who's the number one producer of fertilizer in the world? Because fertilizer has been going up steadily all of 2021. Fertilizer, people don't realize this because they don't pay attention to this kind of stuff. I get it. But produce prices have been going up because fertilizer's been going up. But who's number one in exporting fertilizer? Of course it's Russia. And who's number two? China. And then Canada and the United States come in. All right, so you've got bird flu affecting all the poultry, okay? You got bird flu affecting all the poultry. It's more than likely that this strain, this highly pathogenic strain that happened to come out right now, like how many coincidences do you have to have before you start saying to yourself, I got more questions to ask, right? How many? And guys, feel free to comment away. I'm going to get to everybody's comments once we're done. All right. But once I get through this presentation, I'm going to go through all the comments and we can have a nice back and forth. But I want to just get through the rest of this. So Russia being the number one producer and exporter, I should say, of fertilizer. Now, does that mean the United States can't start making our own fertilizer or start increasing our own chicken farms? Or we could, but we're not. So in the end, like it's the same thing as like shutting down the Keystone Pipeline and then wondering why gas prices are so high. Like going into Russia or going into Ukraine or even getting involved in this whole Ukraine mess has impacted emergency after emergency. We're inflicting more damage on the Western nations than we are on Russia. That's real talk. All right? These sanctions, Russia could care less about the sanctions. If I watch one more time on Fox News how Russia's being strangled by the sanctions, they're not being strangled by the sanctions. China has easily agreed to pick up the tab and buy that much more oil from them. There are still nations buying tons. Germany is still buying oil from them. All right. This is not, they're not suffering. And you know what? They're buying oil from them and they're buying it in rubles, which increases their value even more. So, I mean, in the end, they're not suffering, all right? But the Western world will. And here's the thing. And this is the reason I'm bringing it up now, okay? Because in the end, when it happens, okay, when this stuff starts happening and they start declaring that there's an emergency and they start declaring that we have to take extraordinary measures for extraordinary times and all of that nonsense, once that all starts, all right, then somebody needs to this time you need to be like, not again. Not again. We just went through this with COVID. We went through this with enough with the emergencies already. They're creating all of these problems. But why did we have such damage done to our economy during COVID? Was it because of COVID? No, it was because of our government's response to COVID, right? And therein lies the solution, right? Because when you're dealing with these psycho-evil people, all right, in the end, all right, they don't have India, they don't have Russia, and they don't have China, and they don't have South Africa, and there's a handful of other countries that aren't on board with this either. All right, and that number will likely grow before it shrinks. And it's not that they all want to align with countries like China, Russia, etc. They just don't want to align with this nonsense either. All right, but lo and behold, all right, you've got the Klaus Schwabs out there, and then you've got his little minions, and he even is a minion, all right, of those who are operating and major shareholding of Vanguard and BlackRock, who I think we all pretty much should know at this point is the Rothschilds, right? One or the other, likely Vanguard, and then Vanguard owns the majority of BlackRock, and of course, when we look at the synthetic food thing, who owns the majority of the synthetic of the Beyond Beef? Of course, it's Vanguard and BlackRock, right? There's a shocker. And then you got Bill Gates in there as well. So, look, the whole point of this exercise is just to make people realize. That's all it is. It's to strike the conversation. I'm not telling you what their great plan is. They're advertising it. All right? When they say you'll own nothing and be happy, all right, and we put that at the end of the intro video, when they say you'll own nothing and be happy, they mean it, all right? And it's important to understand that not only if you own nothing, regardless if you're happy or not, if you own nothing, well, everything still exists, right? So when they tell you they're doing all this for climate change and they're doing it, for equity and social justice and all this BS, when they tell you that's the reason why they're doing these things, just keep in mind that you'll own nothing, but everything still exists, which means they own everything. All right, and that's the bottom line. And while you're celebrating your equity and your social justice victories, and yay, we're going to save the planet, we're not all going to die, while you're celebrating all that, they're going to be scooping up all your assets. All right. BlackRock has long ago started buying up single family homes. I listened to Ben Shapiro try and talk about, like, he still thinks that this is like, these are regular economic forces. Like, he's still like, and he's not the only intelligent person who feels that way. I almost feel like they're too intelligent, that they just can't, like, they can't even fathom that, and I get this a little bit. They can't even fathom that, like, that it could be so bad, as so dubious as this, like, as how many angles they're hitting us from, and how many, for how many decades now now guys like Shapiro know about the whole indoctrination thing, the universities and professors, and even top professors in Hollywood, everywhere. All right, are indoctrinated with this crazy Marxist mindset. All right, but that being said, Shapiro still looks at the world as if they're natural forces, that BlackRock buys up all these single family homes, and they're just doing that because the Fed, you shouldn't be mad at BlackRock, you should be mad at your congressman, because it's they who technically should be working with the Fed to not have these interest rates so low, because when interest rates are so low, that's when companies buy assets. No. Yes, that would be true if it weren't for I think the reality of the matter is the reason interest rates are so low is not because Congress is inept. They're inept, yes, but that's not why interest rates are so low. Interest rates are so low because they're all in the same gang. When the Fed wants to manipulate the economy, they look to BlackRock. Like, there's public articles written with them trying to encourage BlackRock and Vanguard to make certain shifts in the market so that they can help with changing one metric or another. All right, but what happens when so they own all these single family homes? What happens? They're buying them at 20-50% above value. All right, to make sure that they get them. They're buying entire tracts. All right. And so what happens? Now they can rent it back to you. And the same thing goes with food, and the same, like, when they say you'll own nothing and be happy, like, I don't think the average Joe wraps their head around the fact that they're dead serious. They are dead serious. All right. And that's something that everyone needs to latch onto. Now, so we've talked about these problems. We've talked about, what's going down and how this stuff is unfolding. And in the end, all right, so we're definitely going to have an egg and poultry shortage. How bad? I don't know. It's going to depend on a lot of factors in the United States. But globally, it's going to be pretty brutal. We can only hope and pray that we know that our leaders are not on our side here. So we can only hope and pray that Americans can pull together and get out of this. But in the end, we have the ability to handle all this ourselves. We just have so much regulation involved and so many large producers that, like, they all shift as they're told. All right. And that's a problem, right? That's another exposure point that we need to look at as we move forward in the future, is trying to localize some of this stuff. Because having these large purveyors is a huge part of the problem. So how do we fix this? We fix it from within, right? Because this problem, like every other problem, all the major problems, right? The national debt, right? Which they're never going to fix because we've covered this. They believe in modern monetary theory. They're dialed into it. They've been practicing it for 45 years, and it's gotten us $30 trillion in the hole, right? Yeah, absolutely. Everyone needs to wake up now. I am in full agreement with you. All right. So everyone needs to wake up now. So, and in the end, and that's Sheila Malloy there. Again, I can't, my highlighter for the comments is not working right now, so I can't do anything about that. But I do appreciate the comments, Sheila. So yeah, there's an element when there were years where it was okay to not be alert and think everything was conspiracy theory and blow everything off and just, that'll never happen here. This will never happen here. That can't, you're all right. There was a time when that was okay. This is not that time. All right. We're in a day and age right now. Like if you're thinking that way, how dare you? All right, just how dare you when it happens? If you turn around like the children in Nazi Germany and the young adults in Nazi Germany and try to play the "I didn't know" card, if you try and pull that, because you should understand that when all this goes down, you're the reason why. Your absolute failure to acknowledge what's right in front of your face is the reason why this is happening. And the fact of the matter is we can turn things around in this country, but we got to get past more fear-mongering, all right? And that's through Article 5 and the calling of a convention of states. Because if we call this convention, and when we call this convention, I should say, once that happens, what's up, Kevin? How are you, sir? Good to hear from you, sir. All right, so I'm really annoyed that I can't highlight chats right now. It's kind of bothering me, but it's okay. I'll get by. But in the end, all right, what we're looking at with these types of situations, we go ahead and pass Article 5. We go ahead and we start calling for these amendments. We get term limits for all federal officials, not just Congress. So stop with the elections. We have elections. Those are term limits. It's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Supreme Court. We're talking about deep state. We're talking about every federal official. All right. Every single one. All right. That's one. So you do that. And aside from the long-term benefits of that, in the immediate sense, right, just in this context of what we're talking about right now, you wipe out the dinosaurs, right? You wipe out 30 years, 40 years of investment by these psychopaths, sociopaths more like it, right? Because they really believe that they're saving the world. Like they really believe this stuff. So like right away you wipe that out. Then you get fiscal restraints. Modern monetary theory is dead at that point. If we start balancing our own budget, if we start making moves in the direction of balancing our budget, right, it's going to take years to balance a $30 trillion deficit. But that's not what it's going to take to strengthen the dollar. Once the move gets made and things start to flow and the debt clock stops, even if it's not reversed yet, just the fact that it stops, just the fact that we're paying more than just interest on the debt, okay? That alone is going to skyrocket the value of the dollar. The money that you have now will instantly be worth more. Now that being said, once the dollar strengthens, this whole digital coin nonsense, and if you're thinking Bitcoin, that's not what they're talking about. They're talking digital coin in the sense, and BlackRock's CEO Larry Fish just got done with his end of year statement, and absolutely is dialed in and focused on a central bank digital coin, as is the Fed, okay, as is the IMF, as is China. All right, this is where it's headed. All right, this is where it's headed. Because digital coins you can control. This is not Bitcoin where it's blockchain. This is completely transparent. You'll never be able to make a private purchase again, digital coin. Okay? So that's dead. That's dead with a strong American dollar. All right? So there's that. And then you've got government overreach where we help and protect our children going forward with things like getting the federal government out of education, which means you're putting an end to critical theory and these ridiculous 1618 projects and other such fiction that gets thrown out there as fact. All right, I got some the topic, Kevin. So we're covering a few things. One, we kind of led into it. So it was the biolabs in Ukraine. The fact that they were tied to a lot of animal disease and animal deaths, and the fact that the government now acknowledges that those types of pathogens are there, and then the fact that we're in a global pandemic for bird flu or avian flu, and so in the end, there's going to be a shortage of eggs and chicken globally. All right, there have been some 28 million birds slain as a result, more than that globally. All right, and we talked about North Carolina putting a stop on all sales and purchases of chicken. So If you have a personal farm right now, you're okay. If you want to start one, you can't in North Carolina until this gets lifted. Iowa had 5.3 million chickens slain. So all of this, all right, on top of the global chain supply or the transportation supply strategy being disrupted, all of this stuff going on at the same time, the point being made, it all sums up to the fact that this is another manufactured emergency that they're going to try and save us from. That it's not going to be long before they tell you that you have to follow them and you have to do X, Y, and Z in order to be able to live, in order to be able to eat, in order to be able to do whatever. They're going to control the food supply, all right, along with housing and Gates buying up all the farmland, etc. So as far as the convention of states, how many states are still in is the question. It is still 19. We're waiting. We're hoping for it to be around 22 to 23 before end of year. There are states coming up in May. Pennsylvania, I believe, is coming up shortly. So if I have any convention of states people on here, and I know Sheila is, so I believe Pennsylvania is coming up shortly, and we have Iowa still in play this year. We have, who else do we have going on? South Carolina just came on, West Virginia came on, Nebraska came on. There's about 18 or 19 that have to still vote, all right? But some of them at least are going to punt. So we don't know which ones. We don't know, how that works. I know South Dakota comes back on the table. I think it's like May or June. So there's some, we're going to have to wait till summer to really get a good idea of how many we're at. But the thing is, that's changing all the time. So the more people that get fired up about it, and that's kind of why we talk about it all the time, the more people that get fired up about it, the better off we are. And the more effective it is, because state legislatures are easy to manipulate. And when I say easy, I mean where you want to try and manipulate a national senator's election, or even, well, the House is different; they're smaller, but if you want to do something on a national scale, you're talking, you need a movement of like millions. You want to do something on a local legislature scale, you're talking smaller districts. You're talking, 1,000 motivated people could totally flip an election, or more importantly, can totally flip someone's attitude toward a topic and let them know that it's that important for them to get done right away. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. So. All right. So anyway, we went ahead. It doesn't look like we have a lot going on in the chat box. So I'm probably going to, this is the section where I was going to go ahead and open it up. So, but it looks like our Rumble crowd's probably shocked that, and I think we lost some of the Rumble crowd because I ran one and then I had to kill it because I put out the alert for it on Rumble, but then I started it on a different channel. So there are probably people over at that alert waiting for it and didn't get it because the link didn't go through. So, but anyway, I am watching it right now. So the stream is going live to Rumble. I'm stoked that we're there. I definitely am looking forward to trying to grow that channel. I think that's where the distribution, of our future is as far as getting information, because honestly, the information that I get from Rumble is so much more valuable than the stuff I get from YouTube that it's not even comparable. So, in my head, I'm like, I just like the fact that we have Rumble out there as a source, and I feel like we've been underutilizing it. So this first stream there, and I'm glad that it was successful. We're on four different channels now: Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and now Rumble as well. So as I become more technologically savvy, we may even add some more. So, but this was my first one using Streamlabs, which I'm really excited to have used. And what do we got? Sheila says, Kaz loves you. Yeah, I love Kaz, Sheila. So I'll tell you this. Once I learned about convention of states, when I first stumbled upon it, it was while we were doing this channel, Jack and I, and we were researching something else, and we came across it, and I read up on it, and I was like, huh? I'm like, we could what? We could amend the Constitution without asking the federal government? It was like, it was like a whole, and now mind you, that began the rabbit hole. And then I started reading about runaway conventions and started like, oh my God, really? They can't control it? We're going to lose the whole Constitution? So I started worried. And then I started reading the Federalist Papers and some more accurate stuff and realized how ridiculous that runaway convention argument was, in which case it then became the most important thing that we could possibly do as American citizens. Because it absolutely takes it all back. And it absolutely, and look, is it gonna totally fix every single problem that we have eventually? Probably. But are these 3 amendments gonna fix every problem we have? We have too many problems for that. But we could always call another one. And that's the beauty. We could always call another one. And as we progress down this road, the precedent that gets set when we close the deal on term limits, fiscal restraints, like if we put these shackles on the federal government successfully, like it's game on. It's game on at that point. There's in the future, the mere threat, number one, they're going to be talking about that day they'll be talking about these amendments for hundreds of years, because it will fundamentally transform the course of our country. All right, they will look back and literally we will start to be called the greatest generation, because once again it was all on the line and it was all ready to fall apart, and a generation pulled together to save it. All right, with long-lasting, prosperous-driven, amendments that will work, because they've already worked. We know that they'll work. It's just a matter of getting people to understand, and getting more importantly, getting state legislatures to understand, and many of them are coming around now, in the long run, but it's taken forever. It's taken forever. Like, I understand why the process was slow from 2009 till now, or 2000, whatever. I forget. It's like 9 years ago, right? So maybe 2012 till now, right? Or 2013. But I'm not even till now, till like, I don't know, till what? Since this new administration came in, right? But because some people up until then, the economy was good, like things weren't so bad. They could forget that there's a $30 trillion debt, right? They could forget that. You could put that out of your mind, and you lose your sense of urgency, right? But post-corona, right? When you really look at how fragile your freedoms really are, right? You're one call of emergency powers away from losing stuff. Right? From losing basic fundamental freedoms, right? So now everybody communicates online, but now the companies that own the online businesses are all in the tank for the government, trying to squash free speech, right? Now they can't do it, right? We're on Rumble now, right? So even if YouTube turned around and said, you guys you're out for another 2 weeks or whatever, well, we're still able to speak, right? We're still able to be out there and speak. Constitutional amendments have held up incredibly well. Incredibly well. And that's really where our focus needs to be. So I'm optimistic about it. I think that it's, Sheila says 2013 in reference to when the movement started. See, I knew it was 12 or 13, but I appreciate that for more accuracy. So I got someone cursing at me here on Twitch. That's good. If nobody hates you, it means you don't stand for anything, right? So in the end, what I would say is this, and I guess, without a ton more, I will leave it at this. Go to our website, www.thepatriotthinktank.com. Check out our there's a link there to sign the petition, okay? It'll take you over to the Convention of States websites. There are some videos there as well to help give you quick tutorials. And if you already kind of know what you're talking about with respect to Convention of State, there's blogs there as well. So I got a comment from Twitch. I wish I could post these up. These Twitch kids are funny. So he says, you want to talk about flat Earth? Yeah, flat Earth is a special one. So this kid who doesn't have a name his name is Dew. So he's one of those people that are going to be sitting around like, how was I supposed to know? Right? He doesn't read news. He doesn't know. He thinks we made up that all these birds have been euthanized. You think that's like the Department of Agriculture is just making that stuff up because, you know, they think that this flat Earth. You know, they think it's a flat Earth. You know, the USDA just puts these things out because, you know, Germany just puts out an alert for egg shortages and stuff. They do that because, you know, they're all flat earthers. And of course, they also do it because there are no chickens. They're killing them all. And the bird flu is real, and it's highly pathogenic, and it's very dangerous. And it's a major, it's one of the most highly pathogenic strains that we've seen. All right. And again, like if you're a coincidence person, knock yourself out. But I'm getting a little bit weary of these never seen before, highly pathogenic viruses that go around, and the fact that, you know, they all end up being created in a lab. So if you know, whether it's mad scientists or reset strategy or whatever it may be, you know, it is what it is. But it's still creepy, and it'd be nice if we could just stop that. It'd be nice if we could just stop all of it. Just stop playing around. Like, again, Obama saw Fauci doing this and shut that down immediately. They just shipped the work over to China. Because he's not crazy. He sees this thing break out of the CDC lab and he's like, the hell are you people doing? like what the hell are you doing? And it's just amazing to me. But again, you know, just to get back on topic with Article 5, go to our website, click sign the petition. They'll write a letter to your legislator for you, okay? And they'll write that letter on your behalf. And of course, you should write one as well. I would encourage you to, you know, they'll tell you who your legislator is, and I would take that and I would say, okay, I'm going to write him a letter, a handwritten letter, because they read them, right? There's a difference between state legislators and federal. They know their constituents. When you listen to them talk on the floor, they're constantly saying, I just got a call from my constituent. I just read this email from my constituent. I just talked to this guy stopped by my office. Like, you don't hear that kind of stuff from other people. And so, you know, on that note, you know, understand that they're accessible. Don't just blow them off because they're politicians. All right, because the reality is state legislatures were given this power for a reason. This entire process is done by the state legislature. No governor, no president, no Congress, none of it. It's all state legislature. The state legislature, they commission the commissioners, all right, the delegates. They're the ones that select them. They send them off to convention. They give them the orders. They write the resolutions saying what they can talk about. And then they're the ones that ratify the amendments that the delegates bring back, that they bring back to propose. Okay? So they're very important. They're the most powerful people really in the country when you look at it that way. And in the end, you know, it's our job to know who they are. We've gotten away from that, really, as a whole, convention of states aside. You know, most of us look towards the president as if you know, like everyone's waiting for Donald Trump, like he's gonna come in and wave a wand. And so the debt shot up with him too. These guys are all doo-doos, every one of them. All right, and we talk about Trump's economy and all this stuff. Well, was it really? I mean, look, as long as that debt clock is firing off in one direction, the economy's not doing well. I know the jobs and the things like that are aesthetics, okay? But in the end, even with the job creation and even with those things, the debt was still skyrocketing. They were still spending like drunken sailors, and we're still heading towards an inflationary state that we're in now. All right, so the way that we stop that is that we, the people, the adults in the room, step in and shut down these sociopaths on our own. Just shut them down on our own. The United States is by far the greatest nation ever to touch this earth, ever to be formed on this earth. The experiment that's been held here, and it's been tweaked along the way, but in the end product that we got was more opportunity and more class movement than anywhere in the world, by far, in world history. People talk about the distance between the 1% and the 99% and whatnot. They're not the same people. Year to year, there's different people fluctuating, moving up, moving down, moving up, moving down, moving up. It's not like there's this group that's stuck in the 99% and this group that's always going to be in the 1%. It's not how the economy works, not in America. That's how they want it to work. And that's what we need to stop with Article 5. So again, I just want to say thank you to everyone for coming on. And even the trolls on Twitch, with all his mad comments and stuff there. He's an angry man. We'll pray for you, buddy. Don't worry about it. Life's not that bad. But to everybody, Facebook, again, Rumble, welcome. We're definitely happy to be on, and we definitely will. Subscribe to our Rumble channel now. You'll go ahead and get alerts next time we go live. And then for that, I think we're good here. All right, folks? So on that note, I will say goodbye. Farewell.
And like that,